St. Nicholas saved my life. He saved my life. When I was a young buck, I fell in with a bad crowd. Hell's herd. Meanest fawns in the northern hemisphere, bar none. We go out drinking every night, getting fights, knock over igloos. Once this Eskimo called us herbivores. We sank his kayak. Back then I had a tattoo on my shoulder, a fiery deer skull with a flaming tail at the end of it, like a comet. And that's how I got my nickname, Skull. It's not there anymore though, I had it branded over. Now, it's a snow cone. St. Nick helped me put those days behind me. So when you hear stories of young deer going wild, that was me, roaming the range, looking for trouble. Thing was, wasn't much trouble out on the range though, so one wintry night, well, we went into the city. Hi! On cocaine! Flying in between the buildings, zooming in low, right over top of traffic. Now, city people will tell you that they're tough. Well, they lose their shit when they see a flying reindeer coming at their windshield. And tough, well, you don't know the meaning of the word tough until you carve your name into a brick wall using nothing but the bone in your head and a shot of gin for an anesthetic. Anyways, we decided to rob a liquor store. I was so blind wasted I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know if it was that coke or the fifth of gin, but I think it may have been that bad marijuana. See, none of us had actually tried smoking pot before. We thought we'd give it a shot. Smoking it, I mean. Because we were no stranger to the evil weed. Because out in the wild, we just ate it right off the bush. So this whole roll it up in paper and light it on fire and smoke it thing was a novelty. Sounded like fun. So we beat up a couple junkies. They must have had some bad shit, because as soon as I walked in that liquor store, fireworks in my head just started going off. As I'm sitting there looking at all these pretty colors, that's when the shopkeeper blasted me with the .22 he had behind the counter. I was delirious. They took me out to the animal shelter. They thought I was rabid. They were going to put me down. But somebody there heard about St. Nick's work with troubled deer. So they called him in. He took me out there and turned my life around. He gave me a job, helped me straighten out. So now when I hear stories of young deer getting gored in gang fights or getting drunk and walking out in front of a moving pickup truck, that could have been me. And the only thing that's kept me from being another roadkill or another nameless face on somebody's trophy wall, well, that's St. Nicholas. And there's nobody here who can't say the same. Just ask him. Ask him. Ask Dasher. Ask Dancer. Ask Prancer where he'd be at without the 8 at the top of his resume. Or ask Cupid what he was doing before the Kringles took him in, and if he wants to go back. Ugh. They tell you it doesn't matter, but it does. It all matters, because St. Nick cares about helping others. And that's what makes these accusations such a travesty. Now, if you ask Blitzen, she'll have you forget this is the man who set up the world's first reindeer team to admit both does and bucks on an equal basis. Now, if you want to talk about sexual harassment, talk to the elves. They were shirtless towel boys in an Irish brothel when St. Nick found them. And he took them out of there, retrained them, gave them skills they could use, set up the Toy Maker Apprenticeship Program. He sponsors Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America, UNICEF, the Special Olympics. He does all this, and he does the Christmas run. So when you hear what they're saying now about this thing with Vixen, or the latest version of the old Rudolph story, you think it doesn't sound like the same man. Well, because it's not. See, it's two different men. One of them is a lie, and the other one is the real St. Nick. Now, Rudolph was just a poor, deformed, retarded little reindeer buck. And St. Nick gave him a chance to be somebody, to be important. Show him that somebody had faith in him in this world when nobody else did, not even the boy's own father. And no, he did not really lead the team. But I don't see how you can subscribe to some sort of a conspiracy that years later would cause him to drift into some sort of a catatonic stupor. When the gossip mongers take St. Nick's generosity towards Rudolph and turn it into something warped and perverted. Well, it just makes me angry. How can they say that? It just doesn't make any sense. Or maybe it makes perfect sense. Maybe we should be asking Vixen what happened to Rudolph. I mean, after all, who is it that's pushing these perverted allegations but the perverts? Vixen, Blitzen, and Cupid. The two lesbians and a fag. Now, you don't want to think they're lesbian? Okay, well, come on, you can tell. Come on. Have you seen the way they look at each other? Like they know something the rest of us don't. Fine, don't take my word for it, but just because they both used to have mates does not mean they've never gone doe to doe before. At the very least, the three of them are bisexual. And they won't be happy until the whole world is bisexual. Even if that means ruining the reputation of the one man who stands for everything good and right and decent in the world and peace on earth and family values. And that's what I mean when I call them perverted, because I'm not one to judge anyone's lifestyle. But to ruin a good man's name in order to further your own political beliefs? Now that's warped. No, it's unfathomable, and it's not in the Christmas spirit. I'm sorry. It just angers me. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, the Catholic Church did not elect Nicholas to sainthood because he is glamorous. Joan of Arc, St. Patrick, glamorous saints. They were elected because they were pretty. They elected St. Nicholas because behind that bowl full of jelly lies a heart of gold. And if he's overweight and out of shape, if he drinks a little, it's because he's under tremendous pressure all year long and not just at Christmas Eve. It's because he doesn't spend his money on health club memberships or personal trainers, and he's not in the gym with these attorneys playing racquetball every day. And if he doesn't always put the reindeer's demands for better work conditions at the top of the priority list, it means that there are higher priorities. St. Nick wasn't put here to make the 8 of us happy. He wants to make the whole world happy. And if he can only do that, but one day out of the year, it's because of people like this, like Vixen, like Blitzen, like these reporters who care more about the news that sells than the news that's true, than these lawyers who fly in the face of tradition as long as there's money in it for them. And it's for these people who sit mindlessly in front of their television watching in morbid curiosity, without the moral fortitude it takes to pick up the remote control and change the channel, without the strength of character to say, no, this is not happening. No, I will not be a part of this. No, this